garbage. Straight up garbage. Um, there's so much to unpack here in Washington's 24-8 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles out there at FedEx Field. We got our boy Noah on the live stream, another content creator on our DMVSportsZone platform. Yeah, I mean, we'll start with you, Noah, since this is the first time you've been on, at least for this season. What are your thoughts on the game and Washington's loss?
I think the most painful part of the loss today came down to a lack of discipline. Carson Wentz, way too many turnovers. We're not consistent. Yes, we shut down Miles Sanders, but what happened? Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts combined on the air. It really showed that our defense, which was our strong suit for many years, is really trying to get exposed. We talked about it in the offseason and a lot of our content. We were talking about that we're worried about the linebacker core. We're worried about our DBs. It is starting to show off tremendously. And yes, we got kind of bailed out because our offense was clicking really well. On paper, we do have a great receiver core. We have McLaurin, obviously Curtis Samuel, Dotson. But at the end of the day, if you can't play discipline, especially because we're not a team that's good enough to get away with a little bit. Like there's the times you saw the Dolphins are a good team. I think they really proved, for example, that they're actually contenders. They're not pretenders. They played sloppy. Tua got hurt, got saved at the end of the game. They still beat the Bills. The Commanders football team, what do you want to call them, does not have that level of talent. We cannot afford to make mistakes, and it showed it in the scoreboard. We got absolutely dominated. We're very lucky it wasn't higher. The only reason it was a complete blowout was Philly does love a run-first offense. So in the beginning, they weren't throwing the ball that much. But when they realized A.J. Brown was absolutely unguardable, it was over.
Cam, the answer is no. Dave in DC, I want to specifically appreciate that, Noah. I want to specifically get to Dave in DC, Muhammad. I know you guys are longtime supporters of this channel. You guys have been on a lot of live streams, even Tone as well. I cannot, and I talked to Noah and Abdul about this right before the stream, but I cannot explain enough to people that throughout the offseason, when I was talking up Jalen Hurts, talking about him being or having a Josh Allen type of progression, talking about him being a potential MVP candidate this season, talking about him and the Eagles potentially being a Super Bowl candidate this season as well. I cannot talk about the number of people, DMs, mentions, whatever on Twitter that kept talking about, oh, Nazi, are you an Eagles fan now? Oh, are you ready to go rep the green? Oh, we forget about you. We don't need you in our fan base. I cannot tell you the number of times that has happened throughout the offseason since March. Oh, I kept saying Jalen Hurts is better than Carson Wentz. Blasphemy. Blasphemy. How could you say something like that? As a fan of this football team, get out. Get out. We don't need you anymore. This is why. Jalen Hurts put up 300 yards and 3 freaking passing touchdowns in the first half alone. The Eagles crushed us today. Absolutely pathetic performance by the defense, but even more of an impressive performance. And I got to give the Eagles credit, especially Jalen Hurts, for the type of performance they put out there, right? You can be a fan of a different team and still respect how another team played their game. Like, you can have both at the same time, right? So for a lot of longtime supporters, you guys know what I'm talking about. This entire offseason, I've been talking about Jalen Hurts and how special he could be and the type of season I thought he was going to have this season. And this is a perfect example why. Abdullah, what are your thoughts on this game?
Washington Redskins, Washington football team, Washington Commanders, same thing, different year. It's sad. I'm starting to become more of a guy that just cares about his fantasy team rather than his team that he grew up loving and watching as a kid. And it's so sad. As I was just like, obviously the emotional attachment has been decreasing, which is good, but like it's starting to become it's just the same thing, different year. I love Ron Rivera. I love what he's been doing, but really, has anything changed? Has it really? I heard that there was another burst pipes in FedEx Field today. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just so many things wrong with this team. The challenge, the Devonta Smith catch, which was clearly not a catch, and the challenge flag being late. It's just such a Washington thing. After there's so many things, and I blame myself for this because I told Marty this before the stream. You can watch the videos. I said 9-7 or 9-8, 10-7. And it's like, why again do we fall for the Kool-Aid? Why do we sip it? It just doesn't make any sense at all. This is the same team every single year. We put our hopes up just to get disappointed again. And I'm starting to have that mentality where I just don't expect anything just so you don't get disappointed.
There you go. Coming over to this side, Abdullah. You're coming over to this side.
I used to make fun of Naughty a lot for being a pessimist, but in reality, it's just being a realist. I'm starting to understand that more, and today was just another example of that. It was embarrassing. I can't stress it enough. This team, I love it. I'll always support it, but they just make it really hard for us fans. And whether it's Carson Wentz, whether it's Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum, God rest his soul, Dwayne Haskins, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing every time, and us fans have to deal with it, and it's completely unfair, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, Naeem's comment here. I feel bad for blaming the D for the whole game. Defense played well, a couple possessions to start off, but the offense really killed them. Couldn't get a rest. I mean, the defense was giving up some plays too, but I definitely agree. It's not like the defense cost us the entire game. I definitely think if we're going to blame one side over the other, it's the offense for sure. You cannot, bro, like the offense didn't score anything until that last touchdown at the end of the game to get us to 8 points, bro. And that was what, 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the game, max probably. Like that's unacceptable. I don't care. And I've been talking about the Eagles defense being elite. I don't care how elite the Eagles defense is. That is unacceptable to not score any points on offense until you have less than 2 minutes left in the entire game. That's just unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Noah, what are your thoughts on specifically the Jalen Hurts throwing the ball out to Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, all the weapons on the Eagles offense? Like, what are your thoughts about the Eagles offense today?
What's very interesting is that I really feel that the Commanders should have had the offense that the Eagles have. A zone run-first team that can have their playmakers open. They were talking the great comment just before. The defense was tired. The best teams in the league now, there was a brief moment of time when the Los Angeles Rams and the Chiefs really encouraged the spread offense. Cardinals, Kyler Murray was looking great. But the league is starting to figure things out. The fundamentals of football is to run the ball, control the pace, control the flow of the offense, and that's what we need to do. The best team in the league now can do that. Yes, the Bills lost, but the Bills were in striking distance the whole time because they did have some control on the ground. The reason the Ravens are so good is they have so much control on the ground game. Even if their running backs suck on paper, they can get the job done. It was like I said, it was embarrassing. It was painful because the Eagles literally built their offense how the Commanders should be approaching their gameplay. I don't understand why Ron, who has a long history of having great run teams, is no longer doing that. There's so much trickery, so much playing around. Gibson is getting barely any touches.
We saw that on that the fourth and goal play, right? To Logan Thomas. I don't know what they were trying to do there, but
exactly. Yeah. What is up with this trickery? We have so many weapons that are perfect in the slot in a 4th and 1 situation, in a 4th and 2 situation. In these third down situations, our conversion rate was under 40%. That's terrible. We have way too many third down weapons. You have J.D. McKissick in the backfield. You can put 2 backs in the field. Get Gibson McKissick out there. You have multiple receivers that are perfect in the slot as well as on the outside. It's terrible execution. It's like this, Abdullah, I know your point. It's like the team is frustrating, but it's frustrating the fact that we have the talent. At the end of the day, there are not many other offensive cores on paper that can stack up to the Commanders. I'm going to be dead honest. We have a good offense on paper. We have a good defense on paper, but it's not. With the execution was terrible. Like I said, the Eagles were masterful in their strategy. In the beginning, they didn't score a lot, but they were patient. They kept hammering away the ball. So on fantasy, from a fantasy perspective, outside of Jalen Hurts and the receivers, I weren't too happy. Miles Sanders didn't play that well. But those carries with Kenneth Gainwell just chipping away, Sanders chipping away. Now the defense is so worn down to take away so much of the clock. Now A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are unguardable because the defense is so exhausted. How are they going to guard them? They're two alpha receivers. They're not going to be able to guard them the entire game. So it was painful. And the Eagles give him props, excellent execution. I think Jalen Hurts, what really helped him improve, there was a false dichotomy in the media that he cannot pass. The main thing was his decision-making. His arm talent was never in question. It was his decision-making in the pocket. But now he has understood the game. He understands to read zone coverages, which is what Ron loves to run, zone coverages. If he can shred a zone, he has the legs to continue to run and open up the plays for the rest of the teammates. And that's the funny part is that we should be doing that. You know, Carson's old, but he can still move. He's still a decent passer.
He's 29. I mean, even if he's older, I mean, he's not quarterback-wise, he's not super old, right?
Exactly.
Like
He's still in the middle of his prime. Yes, he's got injured, but he's still an excellent passer. Like you can say, he made a lot of mistakes, but a part of it was the terrible offensive line play, and the play calling was awful.
Awful.
So, yeah, that shout out to the Eagles because their talent-wise, of course, they're good, but there are teams that have better talent on paper. It's just, at the end of the day, it comes about execution. So now does that come into, do we have to question the coaching staff? Do we have to question the organization? Because this is not the Ron from Carolina. This is a different Ron. This is unacceptable. They're not playing to their roster's talent. We're playing like we're about to be a lottery team. We're barely playing against the Jaguars, for God's sake.
Yeah.
How are we expect to do the rest of the season is not going to get any easier. According to PFF, we have one of the most difficult schedules in our division. This is not a good sign, especially because the Eagles are on the rise. I mean, I'm really worried for this team just from the long term. Even if we win a couple more games, I'm not going to get any more hope. The execution is just inefficient. You can't pray that Carson Wentz is going to throw 2 50-yard bombs like literally week 1 and week 2 just got some bailouts. I mean, absolute bailouts, and that's not an offense. That's Madden. This is not. That's Madden. That's a video game. It's not real life. So, very, very concerning in a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, Eagles definitely a Super Bowl contender. Tone, yeah, obviously we have to get to this point, man. The offensive line. Another take. This is our season. Washington every season. Yep, Nathan, our boy here. But the offensive line. Another point that I was making throughout the offseason. I kept telling people we're gonna miss the loss of Brandon Sheriff. I'm not gonna say he's gonna prevent all 9 of the sacks that happened today from happening. But he would have definitely helped our offensive line today because 9 sacks, that's the most that any team has given up throughout the 2022 season. We've only been through 3 weeks, of course, but that's the most sacks. At one point, the Eagles had 4 sacks in, I think it was the first quarter. That was the most the Eagles have ever had since 1991. And also there was a point in the first half, I think by the end of the first half, the Eagles had 6 sacks. So they only added 3 in the second half. Absolutely abysmal performance by the offensive line. Abdullah, what are your thoughts on the protection? Also, not going to lie, Carson Wentz definitely, we're going to talk about him right after this, but he definitely fell into a couple sacks as well. This is the second straight week that he did that. What are your thoughts on the offensive line protection overall?
You know, I remember.
Hold on, Abdullah. Now we're going to say Charles Leno's dog crap? We're fans talking him up throughout the offseason, talking about how he's one of the elite, maybe not elite, but one of the top half at least of the league left tackles. I still think he is, but we gotta stop. Leno dog crap, maybe today, but like, come on, bro. Brandon Sheriff would have definitely helped our offensive line today. Even Eric Flowers. I mean, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I just remember us fans picking on the Colts for not having a good offensive line, saying that this team was going to have a way better pass protection on 9 sacks. Oh my goodness, that I legitimately felt so bad for Carson because not only will he get a lot of the blame, it's just I know it sucks so much because us fans, either we hated Brandon Sheriff or we loved him. And that loss clearly has been showing the past few weeks, the beginning of the season. It's going to be a really long season if the offensive line plays like this. That's pretty much the summary of that.
Yeah. Already given up a lot of sacks over the last couple of weeks, even before the 9 sack performance that we had today. No, but it wasn't just Leno, Tim. Like I specifically saw Trey Turner get forced into sacks it felt like every single play. Obviously it wasn't, but like Trey Turner was terrible as well. And he's on the right side. He's right guard, right? That's where Brandon Sheriff was playing for the last however many years he was here in DC. So Brandon Sheriff definitely would help. I'm not saying that you prevented all 9 of these sacks from happening, but we need the pass protectors in this offense, and Brandon Sheriff is one of them. Eric Flowers, I still don't understand why we got rid of him. But it goes back to Noah's point from before Abdullah and I were talking. Ron, what are we doing in terms of picking up players, not picking up players that we probably might need on this team, in terms of X's and O's? Ron, the man, top notch, right? He's the guy that you want leading your organization. The problem is he's not the president of the Washington Commanders. He's not the executive officer of the Washington Commanders. He is the head coach. And being a head coach requires X's and O's, right? Getting your offense up to speed every single game, not starting off slow like has happened the last couple of weeks, right? Defense as well, right? And I don't know, man. Ron definitely needs to be on the hot seat. He definitely needs to be on the hot seat at this point.
Yeah, I think he's way beyond the hot seat. I'm gonna be honest. Again, guys, I love Ron Rivera. We met him in person, had a great conversation. But at the end of the day, if his time is up and the new generation of young coaches is the move, you got to do that. And it sucks because it's the constant cycle of getting new coaches in Washington. But I like. There's so many things, so many question marks around this team, like the decisions, the X's and O's, the guys that we should have gotten, free agents were out there, the coaching decisions, his loyalty towards Jack Del Rio and Scott Turner, the Commanders. It's just so many things are adding up. And I was just like, like it's Ron, I believe in him, but I just don't see the plan. It's year 3. We're supposed to see something, and it's the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Again, it sucks because Ron, the person, again, top notch. He's the kind of person that you want to be around, that you want leading your organization, right? But at the end of the day, he's the head coach of the Washington Commanders, and we've won 7 games the last 2 seasons, and this season we've started off slow once again. Yeah, not great at all. But let's get to the Carson Wentz discussion. I mean, everybody, and I know there are already people on Twitter making excuses for him. Carson Wentz was trash today. He was trash today. He was trash. This is the Carson Wentz that no offense, but I thought was going to happen this season. I'm not going to lie to you. Because I had my doubts throughout the offseason. Also got backlash for that. But, bro, this man was throwing high every single time, bro. He was throwing the few times, I'm not going to lie, the few times that he had, time to actually throw the ball, he was throwing it high. And people keep saying, it's because the offensive line messed up his head, kept running up the clock that was going on in his head, and that's why he threw so high. That's why he threw so quick a couple of times. That's no excuse. There were a couple of times when Terry was open, Jahan was open, who had that drop, okay. But Jahan was open, Curtis was open, and this man's literally just whipped. He threw it high. And this has been the theme for the last couple of games, actually, here in D.C. So, what are you guys' thoughts on the Carson Wentz performance? We can start with Noah on this one.
Yeah, it's Carson Wentz. I think like Abdullah mentioned, we had an honor of meeting a lot of the organization. He's a great guy. I'm really cheering for him. I think that's why this fan base was so resistant to anything negative regarding the Carson. Great story coming from the FCS and great story, almost MVP a couple years ago. But we gotta take the rose-colored glasses off for a second. If you're going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, you need to make simple reads and simple progressions. Yes, the offensive line was terrible. But there was, like you said, there were a lot of guys in the slot. Your check downs. Throw to your check down. You don't need to throw 20 yards. And, of course, like you said, it doesn't even work. He's overthrowing them like crazy. You don't need to get the big play. Get the small plays. That's how you win football games. You need to do your 5-yard check down, run some screens, run some slant routes, go route. The go route should be reserved only if you have an opening in that zone defense. But for some reason, we are insisting on doing that on 1st and 10. This is not Madden. I reiterate again, this is not a video game. You cannot throw to Terry McLaurin's X Factor because that doesn't exist in real life. Yeah. You can't be making these simple reads and mistakes. The line was bad, yes, but a lot of times, like I said, he led them into a sack. He didn't go into the pocket, he didn't kick it out, and that's what resulted in those fumbles because he's not being disciplined in the pocket. He has too much existing athleticism to simply stand there. This is not Peyton Manning at 39 years old. This is 29-year-old Carson Wentz. He needs to be more mobile in the pocket, and he needs to make his correct reads. If your X is not open, check down or go to your tight end. We have too many weapons that are just standing there. We easily could have been exploiting the Eagles' defense. And I really built the momentum. But once they realized, okay, all we need to do is put 3 men in the box, sometimes another edge rusher, and put everyone else in coverage because Carson Wentz is going to throw it 20 yards. It's so easy. It's so easy to defend. Eagles defense is good, don't get me wrong. But they had the easiest time of the entire season for themselves. It was too easy. Literally just go into your zone, sit back, and that's it. You only get
Shout out
3
to-
or 4 men rushing. This is ridiculous. You can't make a check down. You can't go to J.D. McKissick. You can't go to anybody. You have way too many people on paper for you not to even make one check down. And the worst part is, of course, a lot of fans are not going to be noticing on that stuff because that's not things that people, if you're, I'm not going to separate, the casual fans, but if you know football, you know that checkdowns are one of the most important games. Tom Brady, Alex Smith, everyone makes fun of those guys. They made a career. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. He made a career off of checkdowns. Because what happens when you loosen up the defense, they have to bring guys down to bring pressure and checkdowns. Then you have the guy open 20 yards down the field. Then you have Jahan Dotson. Not when you can barely run the ball, when you have no checkdowns, you're going to throw 20 yards in a double coverage. And you have Darius Slay, who is literally arguably the best corner in the league now. But he's very early in the season, of course. Best corner in the league. You expect to throw 20 yards and he's not going to defend that? That's a joke. That's a joke. That's terrible decision making. I love Carson. I know he has more talent than this, which is why I think we're so disappointed. Because we know he can be way better. We know he can make decisions. We know he can do well with even a bad offensive line. Because people forget in 2017 with the Eagles, outside of Jason Peters, that was Jason Peters and Kelsey. Their other offensive linemen weren't that good. But he was going out of the pocket. He was making progressions. He was throwing to his check down.
Oh, did they have Lane Johnson?
Oh, right tackle? Okay, mistake there. So they had a pretty good offensive line. But at times when he was a rookie, when he was younger, there were moments where they weren't always perfect. And also Jason Peters was starting to get injured towards the end of his prime. He was not even playing as much as he had Lane Johnson and Kelsey. But Carson Wentz was the ability to make the second progression, the third progression. That's why they even got to the Super Bowl in the first place. He deserves more credit for that. Yes, Nick Foles won them that game, but Carson Wentz led them to the Super Bowl.
No.
So I know he has the talent, and he's not even old, and he's not that damaged. He's not like Carson. It's not like Cam Newton, where his shoulder was destroyed. Yes, he got a lot of lower body injuries, but he can still throw. I mean, he can still throw. Clearly, he can throw far because he's overthrown by 10 yards. So that's what I'm saying. It's very disappointing because, we know he can be good. We know he can survive even in a banged-up offensive line or a poor offensive line performance. But if you can't make simple checkdowns, you're never going to succeed in the NFL. So a little bit long rant, but trying to go into more of the football side of things because Carson Wentz has the talent. So it comes down to either Carson wasn't making the correct reads or the offensive coordinator is not calling the right plays.
Yep.
So either or, a little bit of both.
Yep. Shout out to Dave in DC for the donation. We appreciate that very much. We appreciate you guys coming on after this type of game. Feel terrible that Nazi, Noah, and Abdullah see this effort year after year. Even if we lose, there should be some positives. Yeah. I mean, I'll quickly go through the positives because we don't want to keep you guys on the live stream for too long. Right after Abdullah goes with his comments, but yeah, Reggie Reg, we are trash. We are trash. For sure, Tim. Appreciate you for coming in and go check out Tim Sports Talk. We've had him on previously. He's had us on as well. Great content creator in our YouTube community. Please go support him. Sick of this staff. I am too. Jack Del Rio, Scott Turner, man. Wow. Terrible play calling. And no talk about that at the beginning, but terrible play calling. I really don't understand what Ron sees in him. I'm sorry. I really don't. I know people were talking about how, the first game, he had all these nice plays that were, wrapped up. So then come week 1, he could throw them out there and Curtis Samuel get involved. And Jahan, we play the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 1. With every passing week, that's looking less and less impressive of a win. But Abdullah, thoughts very quickly on Carson Wentz and his performance?
No, what Noah said essentially. I'm still rooting for Carson, but today it was just very rough. And I really thought for some reason we were going to see Heineke out there, but he played throughout the whole game. So, man, he can only go up from here, but it's even more frustrating. Noah, as we said this too, that we have all this talent and Carson still can't produce. And I know it's not all on him. The offensive line was terrible today. 9 sacks is inexcusable, but at the end of the day, we brought you here for a reason. We traded for you, so.
Yep. Reggie Reg. Man, we all are, bro. We all are wanting for this team to have heart, to really make us proud. We all like Carson the person, agreed. Does look lost out there. We're rooting for this team, man. Again, this goes back to what I said at the beginning. Just because I have respect for Jalen Hurts or what he's doing, I can give him credit when he deserves it and stuff, doesn't mean I'm not a fan of this team. Bro, I watched every single minute of this game. From start to finish, we were down 24-0 at half. Why am I doing this to myself? Because I want to use a different word here, but I freaking love this team, bro. I love this team. We all love this team. We want them to do better. They're like our sons, not like in a bad way, but like we're rooting for them as a parent. Like that's how this relationship is, right? This hurts. We're all super busy people. Yeah, we're all super busy people, whether it be school, work, or otherwise, and we still find a way to watch this team. We still find a way to make content for this team. We love this team. This team gives us nothing back, but we're still here at the end of the day. We want them to do better. Is that too much to ask? Last but not least, well, let me get through some of the highlights, the few highlights of this game. Jonathan Allen looks healthy, forcing some pressure. Benjamin St. Juste, I love that celebration, was locked down in coverage for most of the game. He did give up that phantom catch to Devontae. Well, yeah, and that phantom catch to Devontae Swim. That was not a catch. Ron just threw the challenge flag way too late. Another thing, Ron Payne was getting active. He forced the safety towards the end of the game. Weak tackle attempt on Dallas Goedert for that first touchdown. That's a low light, my bad. But I needed to just read that out. And 47 yards by the Commanders with 3 minutes left in the second quarter. I think it was 50 yards by the half. I'm pretty sure. First half, 50 yards on offense. 5-0. But yeah, so I do – and some good coverage as well on that Eagles return guy. I like some of the hits that we caused. But again, I had to reach for these highlights. And but last but not least, we're playing the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. It is Dallas week, 1 p.m. And I believe the game is at Dallas. Yep, at Dallas. What are your guys' quick thoughts on that matchup? And can we some way find a W against Dallas?
Yeah, my initial thoughts is right away, of course, I mean, the same thing happened last week. Like, oh, it's Cooper Rush. This guy sucks. Look at the Cowboys. They didn't do too bad. How is Noah Brown, fellow Noah, shout out to Noah, but how is Noah Brown looking better than Terry McLaurin? That cannot happen. We always go back to the play calling. And because they played it safe. It's funny because when they don't have Dak, they know they have to play it safe. They're just chipping away. 5-yard routes, 10-yard routes, slants, screens. Set the tone with Zeke. That's one thing that I find very interesting, too, is that like a lot of people, on the Cowboys side of things, got to give credit where credit's due. Everyone attacks Zeke a lot. They attack Ezekiel Elliott a lot. And yes, statistically, he's down a lot. But if you look at how his runs they're much more meaningful than they were in the past. A lot of these stats that he had were empty stats. I mean, they're running up the scoreboard because the team was stacked. But Zeke, he's averaging a little over 4 yards a carry. Even last week, he only had 11 carries for 54 yards. Yes, that's terrible, but look at how little carries he got because he's setting the tone for opening up the passing game, especially with as little weapons they have. Dalton Schultz is banged up. CeeDee Lamb's not playing that great. They got Noah Brown as their number 2 receiver. Jalen Tolbert's not the best player. They thought he was going to come in right away as a number 3. He's on the practice squad or on the, he's a healthy scratch. So it is ridiculous to me that this Cowboys team, which is trash on paper, trash, has somehow more methodical and more patience than the Commanders offensively. So that's going to be the key next week, is that we cannot underestimate them. We have to play the safe game. Chip away. Get Gibson involved way more than he is now. I know people are scared of his fumbles, but you got to be running the ball more, especially with a banged-up defense in the Cowboys. Yes, they played pretty good so far this season, but we chip away, we will beat the Cowboys. And I know a lot of people in the comments are saying that's a little optimistic, but we can beat them. We can beat them single-handedly, easily. We could. Come on. They only have Noah Brown and CeeDee Lamb on the edge as wide receivers. Zeke and Pollard are good options, but this is a very beatable Cowboys team. So the key to victory is going to be chipping away, and we're going to have to match the tone of the Cowboys. So the Cowboys are going to come out and try to run it down our throat. And that's going to be that's how they always start all these games this season. Run it down the opponent's throat, then start throwing. Classic old school football. And the Commanders got to go back to old school football, because right now what's happening, this video game slant stuff is not working. I don't care if you see what Arizona did or LA. Look at Arizona right now. Cliff Kingsbury should be fired. Ron Rivera is about to get fired if he keeps doing this spread fancy offense. I know it's on Turner, but still. So the key is going to have to be old school football. If we don't play old school football, we're going to lose to the Cowboys.
Man, Micah Parsons might have 7 sacks on us next week. But yeah, man, I agree with you, Noah. Abdullah, very quick thoughts here on the matchup.
9 sacks. If the Eagles, Michael Parsons might have double that next week. That's all I gotta say.
By himself.
By himself. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we won't get into, at least I won't get into like my specific prediction because that's what's the Commanders weekly live stream is for every week. But yeah, man, I'm very not high on our chances come Sunday. Maybe things might change. I don't believe Dallas has played thus far.
They play tomorrow against New York.
They play tomorrow. So we'll see more. We'll know more about them by then. I heard Dak, something happened. I think maybe he took off his like cast or like there was an update, an injury update.
Oh, he's throwing the ball right now. It's like a practice ball, so it's a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
So he'll be back by next week, which is not good for us.
Definitely not good. It's definitely not good. But yeah, man, this is gonna be a wrap. This is gonna be a wrap on our recap of this week's game. Unfortunately, the Washington Commanders lost against Philadelphia Eagles. I think all three of us had the Eagles winning regardless going into this matchup. I think Abdullah, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, we kept saying that because
look at the preview video. I said we lose.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to make sure, but it still sucks. It still sucks, especially when you're down 24-0 at the half. Man, this is 2 straight weeks. We're down 20+ points at the half. 22-0 last week, and then 24-0 this week. Unacceptable, man. Unacceptable. A lot of people's jobs should be on the line. Unfortunately, I don't think. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but I don't think Ron Rivera is going to be fired no matter what his performance is this season because they look at him as being the one constant amidst all the chaos that's going on off the field for this team. And I know that's been a point that somebody brought up in the offseason. And the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, I mean, that might be true. If this was any other organization, if this was freaking the Eagles, they probably would have fired Ron Rivera already. But because of all our controversy off the field and how Ron Rivera is definitely, once again, a great person to sort of lead an organization, I mean, I don't know if we're going to see him getting fired or anybody getting fired really on this coaching staff, although Jack Del Rio, Scott Turner definitely should. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Dave and DC with the donation. Again, you guys know my thoughts throughout the offseason about Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz, Eagles offense, Eagles defense, our team and stuff. A lot of those things are coming to fruition for sure. Noah has been spot on as well. Abdullah has been spot on. With that being said, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the DMVSportsZone channel. We like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Twitter page at DMVSportsZone, our Instagram page, all lowercase DMVSportsZone as well, and our TikTok at DMVSportsZone. With that being said, have a great rest of your Sunday, or as best of a Sunday as you possibly can after this terrible performance by our hometown team. And see you guys on the next one. Peace. Please win next Sunday.